And
Well,
it's interesting to.
I think, Suzanne, thank you for asking that question. It's an excellent question. To answer it, I think that, let's say it's your wedding day and you're a D personality. You might cry, because it's your wedding day, or the day your child's born, you might cry. And the one thing with an S personality you never want to underestimate, they might be soft-spoken and the team player, and they never ruffle the waters, and they just kind of go along with things. But if you mess with this S personality and you mess with their family, or someone they care about, or something that they're close to, you better watch out, because you're going to encounter a mama bear. Because they do have that ability to do that, especially when it's something that they care about. So at different points, at work I have to be a C, so I tend to be a little bit more organized than I might be normally, and it does drive me crazy sometimes. I don't like to do spreadsheets. I don't really like to be that organized, because I just don't enjoy it. But I realize in my career is what I have to do. So, and the same thing with being an I personality. If you're out at a party and you're having a good time and it's people you could be a C squared, but if you're around your friends and you're comfortable with them, you may be an I personality. You may come out of your shell. Does that answer your question? Okay, great, awesome. So some other things that you want to remember just dealing with personality styles. Okay, we talked about handshakes. With the D, it's going to be a very firm handshake. Okay, so handshake, look in the eye, all right? With a C or an S personality, it might be a little bit more like this. You can see your hand. It might be a little bit more, hey, how you doing? Okay, a little bit more of an interpersonal relationship there. All right. And you might get a high five. Literally, you might get a high five. And with the C, you're going to get a little bit more. You get a little bit more softer handshake, and maybe not quite aggressive. They may look down. They might not look you in the eye, because that's going to be aggressive. Okay. And some people find that offensive and think, oh, they didn't look me in the eye. What does that mean about them? It doesn't mean anything. It just means that they don't want you to think that they're aggressive, okay? So things you pick up on too is vehicles. And again, I don't want to pigeonhole, because everybody drives different things. It's not always 100% science, but D personalities tend to drive vehicles that are big and dark in color, powerful vehicles, okay? Of the D personality tend to drive vehicles that are big, okay? And then maybe not big and I drive a big Yukon. That happens to be black. Okay? So, and then, the I may drive something that's a little bit more sporty, or it's something fun to them. It doesn't have to be sporty. I drive the Yukon because it's really cool, and it's a hybrid, and it's got all kinds of cool features, and I'm doing something for the environment driving this car. So it's not all about me being a D. It's really about my I personality. Okay? So it doesn't matter what it is necessarily. A C is going to drive a car that, depending if it's a truck or a car or a motorcycle, whatever it is, it's going to be the one that has the best ratings, the best warranties, safety factors, maybe what it is. I've worked with C personalities that have gone out and they actually, when they bought a vacuum, spent weeks and weeks researching on a vacuum. And I thought, wow, I just bought mine because it was bagless, and I thought it was really cool, and I didn't put bags anymore, And I could see how much dirt I really vacuumed up at the end of the day. So that was what my motivation was. But I actually do know someone who spent a lot of time had a spreadsheet on which was the best end. Fine. Okay? So to see when they buy a vehicle, it's not going to be a quick decision. I shared my ex-boyfriend's story. It took him 2 months to find a used vehicle. So, it took him a while to do that because he had to do all that research. Okay? The S typically it could be an SUV or a minivan of sorts, but it's going to be full of kid stuff. Okay? Maybe they don't have kids. It might be full of, my dogs are really important to me. It might be full of whatever it is that's important to them. All right? So if they have animals or kids or whatever it is that's important to them. Okay? Does that make sense? Can anybody relate to that? Josh can? Okay, great. Very good. And let's see, I talked about the vehicles, body, dress. How we dress formally typically is going to be your C personalities, okay? Like I said, I know people who wear slacks even on Saturdays. So they're going to be very formal in their attire, formal in their approach. D's, depending on where they're at, if they're on Wall Street, it's going to be your business suit, right? My boss is a D. He sometimes wears golf clothes, so it doesn't always matter. It's going to be regional there. Your I's going to be a little bit more flamboyant, okay? They're going to be bold. They can wear bold colors. They wear things that are a little different because they want to stand out. Okay? They want people to talk about it. It's all about flair with eyes. Okay? It's all about you noticing me because, again, it's all about me. Enough about you, let's talk about me. Okay? Whereas the S is going to be really reserved. Okay? If you showed up to a listing appointment and you were dressed offensively and you were dealing with Mr. and Mrs. S, you're done. You might as well not even pull out your presentation. You might as well just go home because they're going to be offended by that. All right? So again, it's about building a relationship. It's about being reserved. It's about being cautious. An S will listen more than they tell, okay? A D will tell more than they listen, because they don't care. It's all about me talking and me delegating and me being in control, okay? So with the C's and the S's, again, you want to be a little bit, C's are real competitive, but not competitive in that sense of like a D is competitive, they gotta win. A C is competitive in the fact that you need to be accurate and play by the rules. If you cheat, even in a card game, that drives them crazy because they don't like that. It's not fair, okay? There's rules for a reason, and rules aren't meant to be broken, whereas D's and I's, we don't like to break the rules. Okay? We like to live by the edge of it and kind of fly by the seat of our pants and be a little spontaneous. So, any questions so far? Any comments? Yes, Marcy.
I have a question. So if you ask in a situation, worst case scenario, would that be more the director, or would that be?
So role play with me with the question, if you can come up
Well,
with a question.
It has to do with real estate. One time we were in the process of buying a house, and it was a contingency on a contingency on a, and I said, so worst case scenario, if the first contingency falls through, then it'll all snowball, and we won't get past, oh, that'll never happen. But in my mind, I kind of just wanted to know mentally what the worst case scenario was, and it ended up happening.
I really think that that could be any one of them.
It could, okay.
I think if you were a D, you may say something like, well, what's the bottom line here? Maybe a little bit more forceful and to the point.
Okay.
Worst case scenario, I'm thinking more of like an S personality a little bit, because worst case scenario is a little bit more of a soft approach, you know? And I don't know what how I might not even care about those details, because they're too busy thinking about moving into the house to stop and think about that.
Okay.
But the C may say something like that too. C's probably gonna ask a little bit more pointed and direct question about those details. They're gonna have already thought it through 3 steps. So I'm kind of thinking maybe on that particular question, I think it may be an S. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
What about the answer, the person that answered the question? Because she was the one that asked the question, so
I would
the
think,
realtor that said, oh, that's never gonna happen, kind of.
Yeah, don't worry,
Kinda,
she brushed it
yeah.
off, oh, that's never gonna happen, and I said, well, but just in case, mentally, I kind of wanted to know, and it did happen, which I thought was really ironic.
well, I would think that person wasn't really a good realtor to begin with. I'm not supposed to say that, but I think that's rude. I mean, it's rude as a professional to just brush somebody off. I mean, just to say, oh, well, John, your worries, they're not important.
Yeah,
And that is just rude.
I thought
So,
it kind of was too.
I mean, you could
but-
possibly be a D personality, because they just don't have the time to take to answer that question. They think you're being silly because they just want to close the deal and be done with it.
Sure.
So if I had to choose one, I'd probably say it was a D personality. So, thank you. Glenn, your question?
Yes, how would someone react, such as someone in your case? Because I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at an I and S, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, look at D and C, because, you know, when I'm finance-wise, my first question is, what's the bottom line?
Right.
Now, but I also, looking at C, I wear jeans to work quite a bit, and they're pressed. I don't wear jeans to work unless they're pressed.
That's a C
I mean,
personality.
I'll go up there, but then I'm looking at IS, how do you, I imagine it's extremely difficult for someone in a realtor to deal with, because someone like me that can do all 4.
Mhm. So you are a chameleon.
I'm screwed up is what I'm looking at all of these and I'm saying, my gosh, like I said, that's more IS. I imagine it's extremely difficult for someone to relate to someone like me at times. Have to really be on their toes.
I would guess they probably need to be on your toes. So what I would suggest to you, Glenn, in answering your question is to take the personality test. If you've taken it before, take it again. And then that way you can, now that you've taken the class and you kind of understand a little bit more of it, and you can start to identify, you're going to leak who you are. So,
Josh and I took the test at the same time, and I don't remember what the results were, I think. But I was all over the place, and I still am. But I would like to take the test.
okay, great.